Part 13, The Gap Between Perception and Thought. This is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kolo. And where we're going right now is to Rabbi Mimran once again. The last shir that he gave was really, something fantastic for a person like me who, since the late 60s when things started to change or started getting involved in nature, you started thinking about meditation, trying to reach higher stages. This was a long time ago. I've been working on this and trying to see things and different styles that are really true connections to God. So comes along Rabbi Mimran, and for the years that I learned with him, he was mostly a drill master. We were learning different kinds of areas of particular kavanos that are hard. And he was drilling me. This also, we did this too, but it was all a whole kind of combination. Now I'm seeing it specifically with my time and looking at the words that he's saying. That concept that he said the last time in the last year was that you could look at something beautiful, and now you have to think about that, because he says the beauty is godliness. It's coming out from the inside of what Hashem is, of the creative process. I don't know that I have the words to explain it well enough, but you could do this. You could look at something beautiful, just keep repeating the word beauty. And I noticed from reading Aryeh Kaplan and looking at other Kabbalists who are actually trying to achieve transcendental states through meditation, that repetition is a big part of it. So exactly how that works, so you have to have time for repetition. Older people have more time. So here we come, and we have this little quote from the Shla Kodesh. It says, "On this it is said, and you are the ones who cling to Hashem, your God. You are alive." So he said, "Va'atem." This is this quote from this quote here. He says, "Va'atem hadeveki b'Hashem Elokeichem." You're clinging to God, to Hashem, your God. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei Chaim Kulchem. You're all alive. That's where life is. So let's go down and read what he says like this. Now these are really, I think, what he gives us here are practical. I love it. Practical guide to connection. When you experience those moments of attachment, you likely didn't realize that you were briefly in a state of no-mind connection. Now this is going back to the shir from yesterday, where you walked into a beautiful situation. You saw something was absolutely gorgeous. It was radiating beauty. But then it's a state that you can't keep. This is because the gap between that state state of pure perception, and the influx of thought was too narrow. There's no space. Your aha moment may only have lasted for a few seconds before the mind came back in to start analyzing it, but it was there. It was there. Otherwise, you would not have experienced the beauty. Mind can neither recognize nor create beauty. Only for a few seconds, while you were completely there, was that beauty or that sacredness there. Due to the narrowness of that gap and a lack of vigilance and alertness on your part, you were probably unable to see the fundamental difference between the perception, the thoughtless awareness of beauty, and the naming and interpreting of it as a thought. It says like this, and once you see, even in your prayers, is that when you see something, I know for myself, I'm speaking for myself, when you see something in the prayer, it can excite a thought, but the thought is a lower dimension. He said, Rabbi Mimran said that there are 5 dimensions. He talks about 5 dimensions. I say earlier in his book. And he said the 4th dimension is the dimension of thought. Thought is faster than the speed of light. But you cannot reach the state of mindlessness using thought. It won't get you there. It'll only get you going around and around and around in a circle. And this happens often during the prayer cycle, in the midst of the prayers. So then when you start naming the different things that you saw, and then you try to interpret it as a thought, then that once you get into the thought process, you went downwards. The time gap was so small, and it could be almost immediately, that it seemed to be a single process. This is very interesting to me, because I've been going, I think not in the right way. The wider the time gap between perception and thought, you see something beautiful, you just look at it. The more depth there is to you as a human being, he says, the wider the time gap between perception, and then you start thinking about it, the more depth there is to you as a human being, which is to say, the more conscious you are. Many people are so imprisoned in their minds that the beauty of nature does not really exist for them. They might say something like this, what a nice day today, but it's just a mechanical mental label. Since they are not still and aware, their thoughts are going around and controlling everything. They don't truly see the godliness in nature, don't feel its essence, its holiness, just as they don't know themselves. Don't feel their own essence, because he wants to say that the godliness that's in the nature is the godliness that's within us as well. So there's something very beautiful inside of us. So therefore we don't notice our own holiness. We live in such a mind-dominated culture that it is really of no surprise that people's perceptions have been dulled by the static of their own minds. As long as one cannot free oneself from the mind's clatter, one surely will not be in touch with that place within ourselves where true creativity and beauty arise. This, as he says, is a tip for aspiring artists. This is Baruch Fleischman at the Tikkun Elevator Kolo, and let's read this blurb at the end of Rabbi Mimran's Vort here. He says, many people are so imprisoned in their minds that the beauty of nature does not really exist for them. That beauty in nature, which he has been saying, is Hashem himself. This is Baruch Fleischman at the Tikkun Elevator Kolo. We're going to say this shir also on the Devekas Network with Rabbi Mimran.